what are your views about your property taxes? So it's a name you might want to remember. He's a good guy, head of league, but he said his best. Carol Donovan, where's Carol? Carol Donovan is our State Central Committee Chair. There she is, she's right here, and Carol is really advancing the cause around the state of Illinois. Okay, our first speaker, I also see Mike Gibbs.
Mike.
Those are River Forest here, a great Republican. Mike Gibbs, a great River Forest Republican. Okay, please come on forward. We got people straggling in there. Oh, there'll be more cookies in here. I can't go another minute without introducing my beautiful wife, Reagan, is here. Of course, I don't know where she is.
Save our spot here.
Every one of those years as a Republican. My mother, Claire, she said Cronin from there she is. I think she's got any 9 years voting Republican. Okay, our first speaker, and I think you'll agree, if you haven't met Joseph A. Morris before, haven't heard him speak, you're in for a treat. I have had the pleasure of knowing Joe Morris for many, many years. He is truly what I call the William F. Buckley of Republicanism in Illinois and elsewhere. He is a great mind. He serves now as the president of the Lincoln Legal Foundation. He served as an assistant attorney general in President Reagan's administration. He's a scholar of Thomas More, and he's just a wonderful guy. I asked him here tonight because here at River Forest and Oak Park, this is a special place. And Joe was kind enough to come and share his thoughts about where we stand in the state, Joe, where we stand around the country, and you should share your insights. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Joe Morris.
There you go. Good thing.
Well, good evening, everyone. After that fabulous introduction by Tom, I'm looking forward to what I have to say. Can you hear me all right? Am I on? Can you hear? Good, good. Well, River Forest, Committeeman Bensky and Tom Cronin, congratulations. Congratulations. There are a lot of very angry people out there who don't like you, they don't like what you're doing, and they don't like what you stand for. So I repeat myself, congratulations. You must be doing something right. They're particularly angry at one of our federal representatives, Congressman Peter J. Roskam, who is here, will speak momentarily. He also must be doing something right. And I'll tell you, I think there's a profound difference between this movement that is coalescing and crystallizing at the moment and the Tea Party movement that came into being a few years ago. I think a couple crucial distinctions. And perhaps the most important is the Tea Party movement had some clear objectives and texts in which to ground them. I'm not sure what these people are besides angry about losing an election. And to quote a fellow from Illinois, a scholar from Illinois by the name of Barack H. Obama, elections have consequences. Elections have consequences. I think what we're seeing is some residual anger from the fact that the American people disagree with them. But what they don't have is a clear agenda and a clear North Star. And you, my fellow Republicans, led by people like the committeeman here, Linda Dubensky, and Tom Cronin, and Congressman Peter J. Roskam, we do have a North Star. And that North Star is the Constitution of the United States. Read against the background of the Declaration of Independence, which is also in this little document that I carry around in my pocket all the time. It's my bread and cheese. I practice constitutional law, and I take these documents seriously, as did our friends in the Tea Party movement. That's the striking thing about the Tea Party movement. It had a clear mission. The clear mission was to get ordinary rank-and-file citizens like us to recur, to go back to pull down off the shelf, to dust off the Declaration and the Constitution and other documents that help us understand what they mean, like the Federalist Papers. A fabulous thing 10 years ago, you have these citizen groups meeting around the kitchen tables in their houses, leafing through, reading Federalist 10 and Federalist 40 and Federalist 41 and so forth, informing themselves about the meaning of these fundamental documents. For what purpose? To enable themselves to insist that their elected and unelected representatives, people holding power in our name, live by that document, by the Constitution of the United States. It's a very, very simple set of demands. It doesn't take a whole lot of studying to understand what constitutionalists, what Republicans require. We require public officials, legislators, executive officers, and judges who guide themselves, discipline themselves to enforce and limit their own powers in accordance with the demands of the Constitution. That, in no small measure, I think, is what the election of 2016 was fought about. It was fought about reinvigorating the fundamentals of what our Republican system requires. Serious citizenship, an attentiveness by our representatives to public sensibilities, and the utilization of the constitutional system as the means for mediating what the public will wants, translating that into action. Is it a messy system? You bet it is. It's a messy system designed by the framers precisely to check and limit the power of people who have it, which is why, as Peter knows, on Capitol Hill, there are all kinds of rules that make the machinery grind slowly. There is no rush ever in Congress to reform or undoing errant reforms. It's certainly an important part of the agenda of this Congress. The two houses have to line up. Things have to work their ways through the system. There's always tension between the executive branch and the legislative branch. That's built into the system. There are always the checks and balances of the judiciary. Right now we're in a fabulous set of challenges, testing what are the boundaries of the power of the judiciary. These cases that President Trump has set in motion with the immigration order and so forth are really intriguing things. They're really teeing up questions that we're going to be debating seriously in and out of the courts for the next couple of years about what are the boundaries of the judicial powers and the way in which those checks and balances act upon decisions that the President and the Congress take. But I think this is a very exciting time in which to be an American, because I do think we are seeing a realignment of sorts in politics in America. We are seeing the fruition of this process of the last several years of citizens at the grassroots demanding the reinvigoration of attention to our Constitution. And I think we are also seeing a correlative political realignment where the old coalition of the Democratic Party is driving itself apart. It's crumbling before our very eyes. They have made investments now for a couple of generations in few things that I don't think can hold together permanently, and I think we're seeing them disintegrate right now. One is this politics that's limited to the politics of identity. We no longer identify people by, as Dr. King said, the content of their character. What the Democrats care about, what leftists care about, is what ethnic groups, what religious groups they belong to. What, in fact, more to the point, what grievance groups they belong to. Not what they contribute, but let's identify people by what they demand, or even worse, about what they are aggrieved, rather than identifying people about how they blend in with each other, how they form a structure of a real community where people support each other and further each other, help each other define for themselves what are the elements of the happiness that they're going to pursue, to use Mr. Jefferson's words from the Declaration, and help each other achieve the things that we as individuals and as families and as community groups want to achieve in our lives. That politics of identity is falling apart in front of our very eyes. It's why they lost the national election of 2016 and so many state and local elections, and I think they will do so again in the elections of 2018. The other kind of correlated with that, another fascinating shift I think we're seeing, and I hope President Trump is able to lead us to continue to take advantage of the sorting out of the labor movement. Because there really isn't just one labor movement in America anymore, there are two. On the one hand, there is the labor movement that we've known for 100 years, the labor movement of people who actually work and build things, provide useful goods and services. A labor movement that is a necessary part of the capitalist system. When you have employers and productive enterprises, there are people who work in them and are part of them, whose labor, whose intelligent and voluntary labor makes that economy work. And then there's a whole other labor movement that I think we're hearing out there right now. It is the public sector unions. The people who don't actually produce useful goods and services, they are the people who provide sort of the permanent infrastructure of government, the permanent government, at all levels, from the school district and park district level on up to the national government. And those labor movements don't share the same set of interests. One part of that labor movement is part of the capitalist system. They benefit when all ships rise, when everybody's doing well, when the economy as a whole is doing extremely well. And the other side of that labor movement has a kind of a need for the rest of us to be dependent upon the state. They only do well when we're dependent on them. They don't do so well when our private economy is vigorous and booming and expanding. So there is a core conflict within key constituencies within the other party, and I think that we will see sort out, and I expect we will see the productive side of that structure move over to our side of the ledger. I think that's part of what this peculiar shakeout of the Trump movement is all about. I'm about to be followed by the main act tonight, so to speak. Congressman Peter Roskam. I've been pleased to be a friend of Peter for decades. Peter is a representative, I'm happy to say, in the presence of the news media and the folks outside, all that is good about Illinois in general and about Illinois Republicans in particular. Peter is an extremely thoughtful, by the way, this isn't Peter's official introduction. You're going to hear that from Tom. But I want to say Peter is an extremely thoughtful public servant. I've seen this with my own eyes as recently as just this week. I flew early on Monday to Washington to offer some aid and comfort to people in the forming administration. I shared an airplane with Peter and also with a Democratic member of Congress. You'll be interested to know that the Tribune of the People rode in the very first seat in first class, while Peter and I sat humbly with our fellow citizens back in spirit. We got off the plane, and unknown to each other, we were both heading to the same place first, the Heritage Foundation, where I had a meeting, and I walked in, and there, who's got his mouth open but already speaking in an auditorium crammed full of people, explaining his proposals for income tax reform. Right off the dime, Peter has gotten in at the national level, exercising his seniority, his role in leadership, and his preparation. He has prepared himself and prepared his colleagues by thinking through over time what kind of reform of the national tax system is necessary and would be possible at a moment when, such as now, and thanks to the voters in 2016, the House and the Senate and the White House are all controlled by Republicans. There is a window of opportunity in which real reform can happen. And this man is in there doing it, but he's doing it the right way. Contrary to what those folks out there would have you believe, he's not doing it in backroom deals. He's taking his ideas and shopping them out to the critics. He's talking to a room full of think tank people and critical economists and journalists with the cameras rolling, and so he's laying out his ideas, he's taking questions, he's entering the debate, he's doing it the right way, the way that respects the American people as sensible, intelligent citizens on a matter of serious reform. Not like the way Hillary Care was proposed, say, 20 years ago, or the way in which Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama came up with Obamacare just 8 years ago, in the dark, as Mrs. Pelosi famously said, if you want to know what's in it, you have to pass it. That's not Peter Roskam. That's not the Republican approach to public policy. The Peter Roskam Republican approach to public policy is to do it out in front of the people, just the way Peter Roskam is doing it tonight in River Forest, the way he did it on Monday in front of a room full of very critical experts, holding his own, making his case in Washington, D.C. Those are the reasons why I am proud to be standing with you tonight and our leaders, Linda and Tom and Congressman Peter J. Roskam, and to say, yes, elections do matter, folks. And you keep what you're doing up because you're helping send our message. You're helping educate our fellow voters right here in Illinois that at the local level as well as the national level, not only did the election of 2016 matter, but the time is now to be getting ready to make the election of 2018 matter and to keep this Republican revolution going forward. Thanks.
Almost fit it.
No more. Congressman Roskam, I'm proud to say I've known for a long time, has been stirring it up for more than 20 years, so this is nothing new. So I also want to point out that a great friend, Mayor Roger Clare from Bolingbrook, has joined us today. Peter needs no introduction really to our friends here at River Forest and Oak Park. I don't know what it was, Linda, but you know, many years ago when I became committeeman, I looked around and I don't know whether it was Peter adopted us or we adopted him. He became our congressman. Now I know the boundaries don't say that, but in many ways, in our hearts and our minds, Congressman Peter Roskam has long been a friend of Oak Park and River Forest. And I'll say only one thing introducing him. I bump into so many people who say to me, you know, Tom, I know you're interested about politics. You know, it's just impossible to get excited. There's just nobody you can believe in. There's nobody you can trust anymore. I said, you haven't met Peter Roskam. And that's really all you need to know. He's somebody who inspires people. He inspires people to do the right thing, to debate about the issues that matter. He's a person, if you haven't met, meet him tonight, support him. Our friend, Congressman Peter Roskam.
Very much. That was just incredibly generous introductions and comments all the way around, and I'm really pleased to be here. And it's I am an adopted son of Oak Park River Forest. Now, that said, I've got part of my gene pool here. My brother Steve and his wife Candy are Oak Parkers, and they've been here for a long time. And they are part of you married few conservatives in Oak Park, and I bear witness to their faithfulness in that they had 4, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 George W. Bush signs completely maligned out of their front yard in the 2004 campaign in tolerant zip code 60302. So I really think that they came out tonight. All right, so election night was really, really interesting. We had an election night party, which was, you know, typical election night party. And we were stuck, we couldn't get Fox News, so we're sort of stuck in the place that we had on all the main channels. And I'm no urologist or anything, but it sure looked like those people were all passing kidney stones that night. I mean, the media was completely unglued. When they're holding out for Georgia, you know what I mean? Like, let's see where it's going. Because if they had admitted Georgia in, then it would have put Trump over, and they couldn't be the one to acknowledge that. So here's what's even more interesting. The following Monday, Congress is in session. So I go to Congress, obviously. And in we go, and the Democrats on the other side of the aisle, many of whom I've got a friendly relationship with, were thunderstruck. I mean, disoriented. You'd almost feel bad for them. You don't. But they were completely disoriented. They didn't know what hit them. And so what they were thinking is, we can't believe that we couldn't close and beat Donald Trump for President of the United States. And while the Democrats were thunderstruck, all the Republicans were surprised. It's not like, we were geniuses and saw this thing coming. And so all of a sudden, people are awakened to the possibility of, wow, all of this stuff that we've been talking about is now possible. So here's the thing. We're at a moment in time, and you can just completely sense it right now. There is a cumulative sense of relief, basically, within the business community. One of the reasons that the economy is flourishing again and absolutely nothing has happened, because people are convinced nobody's going to be on their back. There's not going to be some malevolent bureaucrat that's coming in saying we're going to shut you down, this, that, or the other thing. And so there is just a change in disposition in terms of the assertion of federal power, and people are feeling relieved for the first time in a long time. The accumulation of people on balance that Donald Trump has put into office in terms of cabinet picks has been stellar. I don't know all of these people. I know two of them well, and let me tell you about two of them. First is the new director of the CIA. His name is Mike Pompeo, as you know. Mike and I served on the Benghazi committee together. We've been working closely on the Iran issue. I was with him in an elevator. He's from Kansas. #1 at West Point, brilliant lawyer, brilliant businessman, unbelievable guy. I'm standing with him in the elevator, and it's after he had been designated the director of the CIA, and I said, Pompeo, I'm developing a theory about standing next to you. He goes, well, what's your theory? I said, I'm not sure if you're the safest guy or the most dangerous guy to stand with, and until I sort that out, I think I'm going to walk away. Mike Pompeo, I told my kids, I said, okay, hey, I got good news for you. Mike Pompeo is the new CIA director, and it's going to be kosher and legal and ethical and constitutional and beautiful, but he is going to bring his game. This is not a hand-wringer. This is the guy that is going to bring the authority and the strength of the U.S. intelligence agencies to keep us safe. All right. And I'm telling you, the level of confidence, I've seen this in a lot of different settings, the level of confidence that I have in him is complete. The second person that I know well is our new Secretary of Health and Human Services. He's a physician. He was confirmed last night. His name is Tom Price. Tom Price is an orthopedic surgeon from the suburbs of Georgia, longtime state senator, successful physician obviously, runs for Congress, ends up chairing the House Budget Committee, ends up sitting next to me like right here, closer than Claire and I, right here for 8 years on the Ways and Means Committee. If I could choose one single person that you're going to allow to have the authority under the Affordable Care Act to do everything that needs to be done, the single person I would have chosen is Tom Price. And by some crazy set of circumstances, so did Donald Trump. Now here's what the liberals didn't figure. When they created the Affordable Care Act, there are 1,400 times in the Affordable Care Act when it says the Secretary of Human Services may and the Secretary of Human Services shall. So what does that tell you? They didn't create a statute that ever contemplated that a conservative was going to have this kind of power. And what you want is the smart person that's in there adjusting those dials, helping us to dismantle the system that has so aggrieved so many people, and then create something that can be ultimately transformational. We are in a moment right now. This tax situation, and let me describe this because there's going to be a lot of discussion about this. And we are basically at a point in time right now where we have a tax code that is dissolving underneath us. It's just dissolving underneath us. And you know when you are the one in the room who realizes like the time to go is now, we got to get going on this, we all need to recognize that it's dissolving underneath us. Okay, what do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. It is complex to the point of absurdity. There's nobody, 70,000 pages, in the words of one of my colleagues, longer than the Bible with none of the good news. That's the Internal Revenue. Okay? So it is too complicated to the point of absurdity. The second thing is the Internal Revenue Service has really lost all credibility. 20 years ago, they had a reputation of being tough but fair. They don't have that reputation today. They don't deserve that reputation today. They misuse their power in terms of political targeting based on political philosophy. They misuse their power in terms of civil asset forfeiture, going after small businesses and really sticking it to them. I told the commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service, I said, you're like Inspector Javert in Les Mis. Nobody likes you. You're the one everybody's rooting against. And I said, you have no friends. I said, if people in my district were looking down at you and you were choking on the side of the road, they'd look up and they'd say, I don't think you're going to make it. And they're just going to move right along. So we've got an agency that nobody likes. We've got a code that's ridiculously complex. And we have a tax code that is now forcing American business overseas. That's not an overstatement. Our tax code, the way it was structured for the economy in 1986. Fundamentally, things have shifted since then. 1986, think about how long ago that was. The Bears won the Super Bowl, right? That's been a while. Ferris Bueller came out. It's been a while. And yet we've got a tax code that is tethered to the past. And we act as if the tax code is a natural disaster, like this is somehow a flood or a hurricane or something, and it's just not. So we can shed this thing, use this transformational moment, and transform it into something that helps our economy grow and create a sense of buoyancy. Now, here's where we have a great debate that is upon us right now. And the great debate has to do with what our view is of the economy. There are two views that are really competing right now. And they're on display tonight, you can sense it. But there's two views that are on display. One view says that the economy is a fixed pie. That if somebody does well, somebody else is doing poorly. That's not true, by the way. And we know this intuitively. Instead, what we all believe is that the economy is a growing pie if we do it right. And as it expands, what happens? More opportunity for more people, more buoyancy, a brightness all the way around. That's not to conflate every issue to an economic issue, but it is to say we need to recognize that part of our charm as Americans, what I find absolutely delightful about us, is historically we have not been a jealous people. We have not. Why aren't we? What we tend to do is we look at somebody who is successful. Historically, we have said, that could be me. That could be my daughter. That could be my grandson. So we've been historically not the group that's trying to tear people down. Instead, there's been this aspiration. Or we've said that can be a great possibility. If you're born into many other countries and in many other systems around the world, the system is cooked against you. You're born into a caste, you're born into a class, it predetermines everything. Not here. And so what we've got to make sure is as we are competing in this great arena now of ideas, that we do not fall into the trap of letting our opponents, God bless them, we don't let the opponents create this false dichotomy, and that is that someone's success means the demise of another. And that is at its core one of these great debates. And I am very excited, I'm very honored to be in the midst of this all with you. So I think as we reflect back and we realize, look, we have an opportunity right now, and let me close by saying this. We have an opportunity right now to fortify one another, to communicate to one another these themes that Joe so ably articulated from a political philosophy, but it's not a political philosophy in the abstract, it's a political philosophy that is foundational for us. And so I just want to tell you quickly about a discussion that I had with an old Sunday school teacher of mine. It was about 15 years ago, and I went to lunch with an old Sunday school teacher of mine who is a wildly successful businessman. Wildly successful, really, really wealthy guy. And in the course of the discussion, I knew him well enough where I said, what's it like to be that rich? What's it like? I said, I'm willing to learn. Really. But what's it like? Do you feel like every time people are coming to you, they're manipulating you? I said, you can write a check and you can build a field house at a college, you can put a wing on a hospital, you can do this, that, and the other thing, you can endow chairs and all that sort of stuff. Do you feel like everybody is hustling you for money, and do you feel manipulated? What he told me, I'm going to share with you because it was formative for me. His answer helped to shape me. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is what he said. He said, Peter, I choose not to be cynical. He said, if they're manipulating me, that's their problem. That's not my problem. He said, guard your heart against cynicism because nothing good comes from a cynical heart. Now, that's a word. Here's the thing. All of us have been the beneficiaries now, from a generational point of view, of a system that was created generations ago. None of us were obviously present at the founding. All of these people who were our founders were brilliant people, sacrificial in many ways, not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they created this system that is the envy of the world. The envy of the world. There is no system in history that has created what the United States has created. None. And so there's only one question that is really upon us right now. And the question is this: what do we do with that knowledge? We have been entrusted with it from one generation to another generation to another generation to another, and now to us. And I put everybody in that generation from Claire to these little kids. We're all here together, we're all breathing the same air, we're all walking around at the same time. So the question is, what do we all do about that? And we, as Republicans, we, as conservatives, not only have an opportunity, but we have an obligation to be bright about this, to be inviting about this, to be winsome, and to be persuasive, and to say, look, this is the way to go. And I think our country is hungry for it. And so St. Ambrose had a phrase that has been attributed to him, one of the church fathers from the 4th century. He said this in the context of his faith, but it applies to our political life as well. This is what St. Ambrose said. He said, we don't impose on the world. We propose a more excellent way. We don't impose, we propose. And so now you and I come along and we're in public life in a season of our American experience where the country is hungry for a proposal. They know firsthand the bad impact of an aggressive liberal agenda. They gave Barack Obama the benefit of the doubt in 2008, and over the period of time they've been trying to reclaim that authority, and they're interested in a new proposal. And that's where we come in. So I just want to let you know, I know you are a little enclave here in a sea of liberalism, but I'm proud of you. You're on the front line. So I know we're all in this together. You sense the momentous time that this is all the way around. And I just want to let you know, I claim you for the 6th district. So if I'm an honorary member, you're honorary constituent. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Congressman Peter Roskam. Thank you. Thanks. I tell you, it's so great to have Congressman come and share his thoughts with us. And please, Linda, let me say this on behalf of Oak Park River Forest. If you like what you've seen and heard a little bit tonight, and please stay. There's more food and drink and music to come. Have lots of fun. But feel free. This isn't a fundraiser, but if you are so moved and so inclined, there's a basket up at the front desk where you signed in for that purpose. Linda and I, on behalf of the Oak Park and River Forest organizations, want to continue bringing brilliant speakers like Joe Morris, bringing judges like John Curry, bringing Mayor like Roger Clare here, bringing, of course, most of all, Congressman Peter Roskam, so that you can learn and listen and hear, and we all can be inspired. So I want to mention that Dr. Jeff Leaf, who's a Republican candidate for here, is here. So meet the doctor. And please stay hello. If you get a chance to say hello to Congressman Roskam, please do so. And Joe Morris are here. And stay and enjoy yourselves. Thank you, Oak Park.